I just want to say I'm going to try and start uploading, even though school's going to start again soon. But here's my first one, or first one out in a while, probably like over a year. If Deku was trained by Sun Wukong. Let's go. So first we start off our journey with Primal Might fighting All For One before he got his scar. So this is when it takes place when he got his scar. As you would assume, it goes the same close until the very end, where All Might uses a lot of his strength and punches All For One. And when he slams his head down, he not only destroys the head part, but most of the upper torso, killing him for good. But All For One did an even deeper wound, cutting off the same spot he did in the original and part of All Might's arm off, leaving them both very injured and damaged. Next, we arrive in early Izuku's room after he's been told he's quirkless. Because of this, he cries, knowing that he can't be a hero, and he wonders why he had to be different. His mom tries to calm him down, but it won't budge. He cries and cries, asking if anyone could help him, but no one does. Now, we go to the present. Now that we're in the present, Deku is in his classroom, but Bakugo keeps on bullying him, and when the teacher walks in, he explains that everyone's wants to do the same thing, become a hero. And when they hear Bakugo in Deku's name, Bakugo gets mad and says don't put him in the same group with the extras and the quirkless person. Deku tries to object, saying that they're allowing quirkless people to go into UA, but no one agrees. They all just start laughing at him. After class ends, Bakugo ends up beating Deku. Deku wakes up bloodied and goes to walk home. His journal was ripped up to shreds, and while walking home, he hears a menacing voice while walking through the underpass. He starts laughing. All he hears is, "You'll be a good host." Immediately hearing that, he tries to run, but he's too scared in fear after hearing it, and gets grabbed by the sludge villain. As he's being killed by the sludge villain, his eyes start closing, and he thinks he's gonna die. But it's too late. No one came quick enough. He died. All Might comes in a few seconds later, and still seeing the sludge go into Izuku's body, immediately knows what happens and tries to stop it. He's able to get the sludge villain out, but it's too late. Deku died. And now we go to Deku's point of view. After Deku died, he wakes up in a world he doesn't know. He sees mountains and rivers are all around him. Then he hears a voice. "Huh, you're a unique one." "Who are you, kid?" Deku, in complete fear, screams and says who's there. And all he hears is, "You don't need to be afraid. I am the Monkey King." And Deku's wondering what he means. I'm the Monkey King." Deku says he didn't believe things like that existed. And Sun Wukong says, "Yeah, most people don't. But every religion really exists. It's just that some of them have different things. I wondered how you got here, as you don't believe in our religion. But it's fine. I saw into your life and was not good. I got bullied and you got killed at the age of 14. Okay. And you tried to become a hero, but people didn't believe in you. That's sad. But are you crying?" As Deku's crying, realizing that he's dead and that his mother will have to live the rest of her life knowing that her son is dead. Monkey, realizing his mistake, starts to try and calm him down, saying, "Whoa, oh, you're not really dead. You're just in the process of transferring over to the afterlife. I could use some of my power to bring you back, but I would be stuck in your mortal plane for a few years." Seeing Izuku's face get a little bit cheerful that he can go back to see his mom, Monkey makes a choice and uses some of his power. So, when Izuku's mom rushes in to see his flatline, his heartbeat starts going back up slowly, and he comes back to life. Being happy to see his mom, he hugs her. And he doesn't go to school for like a few weeks. And when he comes back, Bakugo doesn't talk shit to him anymore, because after hearing what happened of how he almost died, he realizes all the pain he's put onto Izuku, but doesn't say anything. Once school ends, Deku walks home and sees someone. That's the Monkey King. Monkey King says, kid, if you really want to become powerful, I could train you to get into the hero course. It'll take some time, though. But, sure, with me as your teacher, you got nothing to worry about. Deku, wondering why he would help him, the Monkey King just retorts, "Well, I know something about wanting to be in a place that people say you don't belong, that you really think you deserve. Look at me. I wanted to be one of heaven's, wanted to be a part of heaven, and finally I became a part of it. So I can help you become a hero." He says their training will start tomorrow, and they'll start on endurance and strength building. But in the meantime, he's gonna go look around this world to see what has changed. A day later, Izuku arrives in a random spot on a trash-filled beach. Sun Wukong arrives in regular human clothing, as he wants to look like he's a part in this world. As he talks to Izuku, he says they'll be moving this trash, and he will be training Deku twice a day, once in the morning and once at night, to make things go a little faster. As he does that, Deku trains very hard, having to do a lot of stuff that his body isn't made for, throwing up a couple times and almost breaking a bone a few other times. During the halfway part of Deku cleaning the beach, Deku is shown to be look a lot more physical, more than he did in the original timeline when he finished. But Wukong was only training him to get his body up, and now he wants to train him to become a lot more stronger. And Wukong tells Midoriya, "You know how I said that all religions are real? I reckon my training won't be the best, so I'm taking you somewhere where you can get stronger." As Wukong takes Midoriya to the colder Arctic oceans, as they meet Vikings, as he says he'll drop Midoriya off for a full month here to get Midoriya into fighting shape before he'll start training him in other ways to get stronger. Deku, honestly shocked, doesn't know what to say, because he's like, I can't be away from home for a full month. Wukong said, "I already have that. I put a clone of you in your house to do your things. A lot stronger than you, but knows what to do." Deku, understanding he'll be gone, decides, okay then, I have to do this. Now we fast forward 1 month after Izuku's done training with the Vikings. When Deku's done, he looks a little bit more physical, a little bit more than he did last time. Wukong now wants to teach him the 72 transformations. I'm using a short version of the name. But he says it will allow Deku to become somewhat immortal, allowing him to do things he couldn't. And Deku says they sent a picture allowing him to choose what he wants his hero costume to look like. As Wukong says to keep it simple, but to add a stick-like weapon allowing him to fight back in case he needs to. Deku does this and models it off of son Wukong, who's been training him, and adds a shield in there to show the Vikings. Okay. Another month goes by, and leaving 2 months left, Deku has already finished cleaning up the trash. And Wukong, still teaching Midoriya, says that they probably won't finish until the end of his freshman year of high school. But that Deku is like close to peak human strength, or a little above it. And that he needs to teach Deku how to deal with stuff like villains. Because of this, Deku has to learn how to fight with other weapons, sticks, stones, and even his own fists. As Wukong constantly trains Deku to keep on punching him or a punching bag or even sand, trying to do the Iron Fist training, pushing Deku to his absolute limit. And then we go to the start of where Deku goes to the UI entrance exam. Because of how much training he's done, when he finally goes, when Bakugo sees him, Bakugo is shocked, as he barely looked at Deku during their time at middle school. When he sees him, Deku's a lot more muscular. And this time, Deku does fall, but kind of catches himself with his other foot immediately. And a girl walks by saying asking if it's okay, as it's Ochako. Deku says yeah, and they both talk, but then go into the building. As President Mike is speaking of all the robots, the 1-pointer, 2-pointer, 3-pointer, and 0-pointer, Deku sees a little caterpillar on his sheet, as it has the colors of Sun Wukong. After reading the book for a little bit, he knows this must be him, and taps his desk, and the caterpillar taps back, as Deku got his answer. Honestly, Deku would have geeked out, but stayed silent, so Ida never called him out in front of everyone. As we get to when they're about to go in, Deku stays quiet to himself, and he doesn't go up to Ochako, as he barely knows her. And when the doors open and President Mike says go, everyone runs out. Everyone without his super speed quirk is left behind in the dust by Izuku and Ida. As Izuku did a short burst, he has to run. He's able to he's able to find some broken rubble around and use it to clobber the machines. He's able to destroy most of the robots and use them to his advantage. If he's caught by 2, he'll let them both attack each other, getting him more villain points. He saves a few people that are going to get shot and gains a little bit of hero points. And then we get to the 0-pointer. The 0-pointer starts destroying stuff around it, and Izuku sees Ochako stuck under rubble. He's scared, but then sees a hawk flying over, in Sun Wukong's colors. Deku, not caring what happens, runs to Ochako, throwing up the rubble, but he throws her out of the way and is crushed. As his legs are crushed. And it ends, and Recovery Girl walks out and starts healing everyone that is a little injured. Seeing Izuku heals his legs, and she said that he needs to be more careful, or else he would have hurt himself even more. Deku, agreeing, just gets up and starts to walk away. He believes he did good, and a few weeks go by without any notice, and then he gets a letter in the mail. He owns. If I didn't say this earlier, I am sorry, but this will also be all of Season 1 and half of Season 2 up till the sports festival ending. So here we go. After Deku receives his letter and all of that, he gets happy that he got accepted into UA High. And the day he goes and walks into UA, he's shocked just by the size of the door. But he remembers all the training he had to go through with Sun Wukong, and just how much Sun Wukong kind of made fun of him. But he decides to walk in. When he does, everyone looks at him and is honest. Some people know who he is and some don't. When he goes to try and take a seat, Ida says out loud, "Congratulations, Midoriya. I never thought a quirkless person would ever get into UA, but look at you. You made it in." As everyone hears that, as Deku gets a tap on his shoulder by Ochako, she honestly introduces herself and thanks him for saving her. But during that, Deku realizes there's a fly on his shoulder, and it looks like Sun Wukong's colors. As Deku taps once on his shoulder, as he feels a tap back. As honestly, he's a little flustered, and then Aizawa says, "Quiet." And then everyone keeps on talking and says, "Quiet." And then everyone finally becomes quiet. 23 seconds. You'll have to do better than that if you want to stay in my class. Put on these gym clothes and meet me outside. Everyone is wondering what's going on. They say, "What about orientation?" And he just says, and replies to them, "You're in my class. I can do what I want with you guys." As he tells them to put their gym clothes on and to meet him outside. Don't make me repeat this a second time. As they all be quiet and put him on and then go outside. Aizawa says that there will be that in middle school they were tested on their power without the use of their quirks. Here, they'll use them. He remarks how stupid it is, but also that they're not allowed to use quirks in public. Aizawa then says, "Katsuki Bakugo, you got the high score. How about you show them?" And he, honestly, being more pissed off in this timeline due to Midoriya making it into UA without a quirk, being quirkless, he throws the ball with more anger. And then he gets 387 meters as his top. Everyone else goes, and then it's Midoriya's turn. He gets the ball and throws it with full force. 127 yards. Even without a quirk, that was powerful. Good job. As they do the running, everyone gets the same score, but when he goes to Bakugo and Midoriya sprints and Bakugo does an explosion, and Deku barely beats him, making Bakugo even more mad. And then we get to the other stuff, and Deku does better in all of them since he's even more physically fit. And since no one was making fun of it, Aizawa doesn't kick anyone out, but wants to talk to Mineta and Hagakure. He says both of them need to get better. Toru at strength and Mineta at stop playing around, as he could have easily beaten Hagakure, but he just didn't. But one person that looks at Midoriya the most after Aizawa gives all this and is Aoyama. Aoyama looks at him and honestly is shocked. As spoiler, as we know in the manga, this is a spoiler, so if you want to keep on hearing, skip 20 seconds forward. Aoyama is the traitor, and his quirk isn't his. It was given by Alpha 1. Okay, let's go. back to the main story. Aoyama is shocked. I repeat, shocked. As everyone goes home for the day, Ochako and Ida become quick friends with Midoriya, and she doesn't think of know what deku is because Bakugo never said it. Then we go to the next day, where everyone gets to put on their hero costumes. When All Might enters, everyone's happy to see him, and All Might explains what they're gonna do. Two groups are gonna fight each other. A group of two, heroes versus villains. Everyone gets happy when he also says they'll be able to use their costumes they requested. Deku's costume is more of closely to Sun Wukong's, as he gets a bow staff and he gets some armor and whatever Sun Wukong also wears. He also has specially designed shoes that will allow him to stick onto a wall when he jumps hard enough on them. But let's do a little flashback right now, because I forgot how to make videos for a while. We go back to after Deku. Deku first day, Sun Wukong appears, saying how proud he was of how far Deku has gotten. As he says Deku probably hasn't fully mastered the 72 transformations and can only do 16. But he's proud of him nonetheless. As he says they can go out and get some ice cream or whatever Deku wants. Deku just says he wants to continue training to get stronger. But he does wonder one thing. Does the afterlife truly exist? As he says, it does. And Wukong says because he revived Deku, he kind of broke a rule that he should not, and got heaven pissed at him again. He says because of that, he's now stuck on Earth for until Deku fulfills his dream. And Sun Wukong says it's nothing to him, he's immortal, so it's fine to him. Izuku's just happy that someone actually believes in him. As we go back, as Deku looks on his clothing and sees something on his desk. A metal crown. A golden crown with 2 feathers on the top. Deku puts it on and walks out, as everyone wonders, as he says is based off of a very old character and what Deku would want as a hero costume. As they look at his red staff with some gold at the end, as it has a little spiked part at the very end of one of its tips and a bigger, blunter part at the other end. Unlike in the Journey to the West, his staff doesn't extend and is just a regular staff that he uses to attack with. So we go on. All Might sends out the teams. The first team of heroes will be Izuku Midoriya and Uraraka Ochako. Second team, Katsuki Bakugo, Tenya Ida. As everything is the same, until Deku and Ochako come up with a plan. Deku states that Bakugo will be mostly targeting him, as he's probably pissed off right now, and that once Bakugo attacks, he'll give Ochako a few seconds to run, and he'll fight Bakugo for a few seconds, and then run with her so they can go together to fight Ida, as Bakugo would be the last person they both want to fight. Ochako agrees, and he states that his shoes allow him to grip onto the wall, stay onto walls for a little bit. He says the reason he did that is because he's quirkless, he needs this just to help him. As he has some stuff in his utility belt, like a flashbang and some adrenaline shots, just in case he needs it. Honestly, UI didn't want to give it to him, but since he's quirkless, they allowed it to make sure he can fight. As it begins, they both walk in, and after like 2 minutes of walking, and once they get to the 3rd floor, Deku tells Ochako to stay silent as he hears, "Where are you, nerd? Come out!" As Deku says he believes Bakugo is further up ahead on their left. As he says for them to turn right and to take that entrance of the stairs. As they go up, Bakugo hears her step and starts running down the hall. and barely seeing Izuku's feather go, he runs. As they get onto the 4th floor, Bakugo appears and tries to hit Deku with an explosion, but Deku throws up his flashbang and blinds him, allowing Deku to hit Bakugo, and he yells for Ochako to run. She runs to go find where Ida placed the bomb. Because of this, Deku has the very limited time to actually start attacking Bakugo. As he uses the sharp side to pin Bakugo's hero costume down and start wailing on him, punching him, and then doing some kicks. He pulls out the tape to try and tie up his legs. Bakugo uses an explosion and tears his way out of the staff's hold. Deku, messing up, instead ties the tape to his staff and throws it forward, scratching Bakugo on his left cheek. Shocking Bakugo nonetheless, he goes in for an attack and tries his best to beat him, but ends up getting beaten down. Bakugo yells how Deku got strong enough to even contend with him, but Deku says he had to train hard, as he didn't have the easy way of getting a strong quirk. He had to train to get here, and he almost broke bones doing it. And as he tells Bakugo that he isn't afraid of him, but Bakugo just gets more and more pissed, and then his gauntlets are both folded up. Deku realizes what he has to do and throws another flashbang and starts running, knowing this is his only chance to escape. He starts running down the hall and finds some stairs leading up to the 5th floor, I think the final store where they're hiding the bomb. And Deku gets up, and without Ida noticing any of them, because he was too attentive trying to play the villain, they both almost get to it, but then all Ida hears is the door kicked in by Bakugo. As Bakugo sees Izuku and uses explosion and flies straight toward him. Deku's about to be hit. As Bakugo creates a hole through the wall, he sees a bird and Sun Wukong's colors as it looks at him and blinks. Deku starts to fight both of them 1v2 and is honestly getting beaten. He uses his staff to pin Ida's armor down, and because it's armor, Ida gets stuck more easier than Bakugo's cloth. But then Bakugo shows him his gauntlets are full. Pulls out one clip. Deku sees the explosion head on. He tries to dodge into a pillar, but once he gets behind it, half his body was already hit by the explosion as he's flown forward. Bakugo says he'll shoot the other one now, as it's right in the fire of Deku and Ida. Ida says don't, as Bakugo just unleashes it. As he does, it hits both of them. Ida's costume is slightly burned as he was slightly hurt by it, but Deku was severely damaged. Honestly, in a lot more pain. Deku removes his staff and hits Ida hard enough on the head, hits Ida in his legs, causing Ida short pain as he runs to Bakugo. Bakugo says it's over, and then All Might says the heroes have won, as Ida and Bakugo forgot Ochako. She was able to get it, as she states that they won. Deku, who has to be brought to Recovery Girl, is in pain. His arm is partially burnt, and when she finishes healing him, he has a little scar on one of his arms. It's not really that noticeable, but it's still a scar nonetheless. After it ends, all the battles go the same as they usually did. Now we reach the end of the day, as Deku ends up walking home and meeting Sun Wukong again. Deku is sad that he didn't beat Bakugo, but Sun Wukong reminds him, remember what I told you? One day you'll beat him and no longer be scared of him. You're still a little scared, and even though you didn't beat him, you tried your best to beat him. That's all I'm proud of. Someday, you're going to be a great hero. I can see it. Your good-natured heart will help you through. So then, where do you want to go eat? I kind of have no money and I'm a little hungry. As Deku says, they can go to a cheap ramen bar, as Sun Wukong accepts and they go eat. Sun Wukong drops Izuku home, and when Ingo sees him, she's happy to ask about Deku's second day. And then she wonders who the person behind him is. Deku says it's the person that was helped train him before he got into UA, as Inko is just happy. She invites Sun Wukong to come eat dinner, as Izuku is about to say that they already ate ramen before they got here, but Sun Wukong just says, "Really? I'd appreciate that." She says, "Of course." For helping to train Izuku, she'd gladly give him some dinner. As Deku stays quiet as Sun Wukong scarfs down some food. After he's done, he says goodbye and says he can't wait to hear what happened on Izuku's third day of UA. Yep, we're doing the third day. As we go to that, the same thing happens. They do hero training for a second time. As Oma says, they'll have this twice a week. 2 times a week. As Deku is teamed up with Momo Yaoyorozu, and the team they're going against is Yuga Aoyama and Minoru Mineta. Deku is honestly a lot more chill, but is more cautious. Aoyama shoots his lasers, and Deku's able to block him with his staff and tells Momo to start using her shield to block him. As he explains a way to beat both their quirks. As he states that it seems like Mineta can only throw a few balls at a time before he gets a little tired before he has to start throwing again, and Yuga Aoyama can only shoot for a few times or for a long period or for a few seconds with one shot before he has to hold his stomach, as he says for Momo to create a few shields and he'll throw them to distract them. He throws them and they hits the wall. Yuga Aoyama blasts them and Minoru throws his sticky balls to stake them to the wall so that it doesn't hit him. But they don't notice a flashbang. It blinds both of them and Momo's able to tag the bomb as they win again. We skip a little forward to the USJ and everyone's just talking on the bus ride. And Deku, everyone wonders how this bird is on him since they left the building. Deku states he doesn't know, but he likes the bird. As you guessed it, it's Sun Wukong in disguise. Everyone's just trying to have fun, and Koda tries talking to the bird as it looks at him and just flutters around and just flies back. Koda says it's the first time an animal hasn't listened to him, but it could be a rare case that some animals can just resist it. As they start going to the USJ, Tsuyu talks about how everyone else would probably be good heroes but Bakugo because of his anger management issues. Because of that, Bakugo gets mad and tells her to say to his face, as she just says, "Why should she?" Bakugo just gets more. Aizawa tells them to quiet down as they reach the USJ. Deku walks down as the bird just flutters around him. And they're greeted by 13, and the same thing goes as usual. When they enter it, 13 sees a strange looking portal. There's first a purple portal in the middle of the USJ, and then a weird looking black sludge portal. She tells the kids to get out of here, but then the doors close. As those that were invisible appear. Aizawa uses his erasure quirk and is able to do that, and Bakugo and Kirishima immediately tackle them down, but they realize the door is welded shut. Everyone is afraid. Deku, knowing Sun Wukong's here, looks at him and pleads for Sun Wukong to interfere, but Sun Wukong psychically tells Izuku that Izuku will have to do this to wait to show how far he's gone. Izuku gulps as they look down and see hundreds of villains walk out of the portals everywhere. And then Shigaraki appears with 3 Nomus. 2 Nomus with the duck bird with that duckbird bill that were at the original USJ. The one Nomu that was at the original J was now two with the exact same abilities. And then a third Nomu. One with ginormous wings and a gold and silver half. Sun Wukong knows that the Nomu was created from the blood of the gold and silver demon brothers. And gets afraid for Zuko's safety as he thinks of interfering. Aizawa tells the kids to try and get out, and goes down to start fighting the villains. The villains honestly do the same as they did usually. And when Korgiri appears, he says, "We intended for there to be 3 pro heroes, but there's 2. We knew it would be better to attack UA, because what would happen if a prestigious high school was attacked?" As they're all wondering how they got into UA, as they say, "On your first day, there's a little bug that helped us, and we got the news." As he laughs, Deku, honestly afraid, pulls up his guard and holds up his staff, getting ready to train and use his bird transformation. But Bakugo, Kirishima, and Kaminari attack Korgiri. As they do nothing, Korgiri decides to teleport them all away, teleporting a few out, but notably, he teleports Izuku into the ocean area as usual, but when Izuku lands, a bird flies through with him. As Deku is about to be attacked by a villain, but uses his staff to knock him out, to hit him, Tsuyu comes in and rescues both him, Netta, and Ojiro, as in the fire area, no of the students were in there. As they all get up, Deku doesn't know what to do. Deku's trying to think of a way to get out of here, as the boat's slowly sinking. As then he looks at Mineta. He tells Mineta on his go to start throwing his sticky balls in the water, as they ask what Midori is going to do. And he tells Sue to grab onto him. He says for Ojiro to protect Mineta at all costs, and that Sue will be used to kick everyone into the sticky balls. As Sue is actually scared. They go in to start doing it, and they're doing good at first, but then a few villains are actually beating them down. Deku, in a fair rage, swings his staff hard enough that it creates a shockwave, as they're both blasted out of the water, as she's able to use her tongue to grab Ojiro and Mineta. As they escape, they land in the middle of the battlefield where Aizawa is fighting, as one of the big Nomus attacks him and is beating down on him. Izuku, afraid, uses his staff and swings it with full force as it budges the Nomu. Shigaraki looks surprised. "This Nomu should be able to withstand the power of All Might. How did he withstand that? How did that kid hit it with so much force? And it made the Nomu budge." As we go and return to everyone else who didn't get teleported, they're all trying to break through, as Baguio wasn't teleported with Kirishima, as they were all teleported to short areas close to the center, as more villains were teleported to that area. But since Bakugo is right in the door, he shoots his massive explosion. Korgiri dodges, knowing he'll hit him, as he blasts the doors open. Ida starts running at full speed, as he uses reciprocal bursts and barely manages to get out before Kurogiri can grab him. He has to race with all his heart, and when we get back to everyone else, Aizawa has been defeated by the Nomu. Deku is afraid. He's shivering. Shigaraki has one of the Nomus grab Ojiro, as the Nomu snaps Ojiro's arm and punches him into the ground, almost knocking him out, and close to killing him. Shigaraki goes to grab Suyu's, and since they don't know the quirk, Izuku pushes her out of the way as his arm gets grabbed. As he starts seeing his skin flake, he kicks Shigaraki in the face, barely escaping. As Shigaraki says, "You're a unique one. I heard you're the quirkless kid that got into UA. How pathetic to you to waste your life at this school." As Deku holds back his grab and knocks him back, and then they hear a loud thud as All Might enters. Because of what All For One did to All Might has part of his left hand with 3 fingers and three fingers and part of his hand is gone. Meaning he only has his index finger and thumb on his left arm, and the other part of his hand is gone. His stomach is also more badly damaged, as he has to use robotics for his hand and some robotic parts on his stomach and abdomen section. I know this may be long, but I gotta continue going. As the Nomu start fighting All Might is having increasingly even more trouble, because he's more damaged than this timeline, and there's 2 of these Nomus. Deku gets scared and swings his staff at one of them to get him off All Might, but the Nomu grabs Midoriya and beats him down repeatedly, punches him a few times, and before he goes for a third one, Izuku just screams out, "Help! Someone, please!" As Sun Wukong finally decides he'll interfere. He changes his form to not look like, the Monkey King, as the glass shatters, as a staff enters the room, hitting the Nomus, both of them. It expands and crushes them both. Deku smiles, knowing that they're saved. Sun Wukong is still in a monkey form, but not what they would depict Sun Wukong to look like, or not knowing. He's All Might says, "Who are you?" And he says, "Just a random person just a random hero that came at the right time." As he ends up fighting all the villains using his staff and extends it, but doesn't, and enlarges it. People wonder if his ability allows him to enlarge his staff, as he just uses that main ability, running around them and attacking them. Shigaraki, wondering who he is and how he killed the Nomu so easily, teleports away. As when the rest of the heroes arrive, they ask how everyone's doing and if they're all okay. All Might, who is badly damaged, needs to go back to Recovery Gold to rest. Deku is honestly happy, but when the other UA teachers see this hero helping him, Snipe raises up his gun and shoots. Obviously, the Monkey King smacks the bullet away and jumps out of the building and flies away. As Deku's bird appears, Deku just smiles, knowing that his sensei came to help him. And now we go on to where Tsukauchi is asking everyone if they're okay. Deku is much better and has had his arm somewhat healed and has a cast around it. He isn't in Recovery Girl's office thanks to his extended training with Sun Wukong and those Vikings earlier. He's able to walk and talk, and he says that they somehow did it on their first day of school, so it had to be one of the school's participants. And Tsukauchi realizes how this is going to be a lot of paperwork he's going to have to go through. As the next day, they all wonder who's coming in. After Aizawa's brutal beating, Aizawa walks in, even damaged, but also with Midnight walking him in. She says that she'll be here to help Aizawa teach the class. And she's honestly sad at what happened, but she wants to help them as much as she can. And she says Aizawa wants... they were told by the school that the UA Sports Festival is happening very soon. As they all are wondering why after a major villain attack on the world's best high school. As they said, it's to quell the public's eye on the school. And so that no one is afraid to go to UA. Honestly, they all just agree with it, but she also says they'll be trying to pick out their hero names. Everyone goes with the same names. Bakuro still doesn't have one. But when it comes to Deku, he doesn't know what to pick. He wants to go with them. He doesn't know what name to pick, actually. He says he's gonna go with the Great Sage as his name. And she wonders why, and she says it's just a placeholder for now, before he finds out his real hero name. And she says it's a good name, but it could be better. And he agrees. Now, we do some training. But first, let's go back to Sun Wukong and Deku. Honestly, after Deku tries picking his hero name, Sun Wukong tries talking with him, and realizes how much more training Deku needs to go through before he'll be better. He thinks about taking him to the other gods of the other universes, but he believes it'd be better if he starts training him some more. He wants Deku to be able to lift his staff so he can use it as a hero item, and could use his size changing ability, and also wants to teach Deku how to use those clouds he rides on. But he's trying to get Deku up to the 72 transformations. Deku has unlocked 32, or 36 actually, and he says Deku's halfway there. As yes, I am changing some things up from the real Journey to the West, as he only has 36, like Pigsy. But Sun Wukong explains Deku's 72 transformations would probably be done at the end of his first year, like he said. But he does know one thing that could help him. He tells Deku if he asks Midoriya if he wants to have a sip of some heavenly wine. Deku just says he's underage, he can't drink, as he says it'll help Deku get stronger and will give him, won't allow him to die for a little bit, as he'll be able to be hit by deadly blows as they won't kill him. But Deku doesn't want to use that because it will be basically cheating in his eyes. The Monkey King agrees and says that they can go back with strength training, but he wants Deku to learn some more fighting styles, as they start training repeatedly. Ochako follows Deku on one of his trips to train with the Monkey King, and when she appears, she wonders who Deku's training with and why he's called the Monkey King. As Deku tells her to calm down, she's like, why is he called the Monkey King? Should I bonk her on the head to try and wipe her memory? As Deku says, no, she's my friend. And she looks scared, and Monkey King's like, should I just tell the... Izuku's like, should I just tell the truth? Like that look, and Sun Wukong just agrees. Izuku tells her what happened, all when the sludge villain killed him and how he met Sun Wukong, and that he was the person that saved them. She's honestly shocked, as Izuku says he's the great sage's disciple. Sun Wukong honestly just is a little bit more relieved that someone else knows about his identity. He doesn't keep it from people. Deku also explains that Sun Wukong was the animals that they'll see around them, the one bug or the one bird around them they'll usually see. As it's just Sun Wukong making sure Deku is doing good. As Ochako asks if there's an afterlife, and Sun Wukong's like, yeah, there is. You don't gotta worry about dying. As she looks relieved. But she asks, wait, your afterlife or which afterlife? I don't understand. And he says, whatever afterlife you believe in. That just makes her stop. She honestly wonders what of Deku's stature, and if other gods exist. Sun Wukong states, yes, but they own their own domains over the world, and that they don't really interfere or talk to others. he only brought Deku to the Vikings to train Deku and for Deku to get more ruthless, more powerful and all that. He also says since they got a week before the sports festival happens, he wants to know if they can spare money for him to buy tickets, because he is dirt poor. He has no money. As Izuku says he'll ask his mom if Sun Wukong can watch the tournament in his house with Ingo. Sun Wukong just agrees and is like, okay, I'm fine with that. He says he'll send a clone of him to watch Midoriya, so Midoriya doesn't get into too much trouble. As everyone's training, Ochaka's the only one who knows about Izuku's secret. Izuku's just shocked that she found out, but honestly wants to keep their friendship, as she doesn't want to tell people. But when the last day before they go to do the entire festival, she accidentally blurts it out in a conversation with Ida, as Deku smacks his head as the clone disappears, and tells Ida that's the truth. And with now the three of them knowing, Ida's just shocked and wants to ask questions, but the Monkey King says, also, don't tell anyone you know this, and don't blurt it out. Please. I don't want other people knowing. As the sports festival finally happens, we got to the beginning where everyone's changing into their gym clothes, as Shoto, instead of making a declaration to Deku, makes it to Bakugo. And Bakugo, being Bakugo, accepts and says he'll make sure Shoto cries to his mom. Not knowing that just made Shoto even more mad, as he cracks his knuckles. As when they all go out, you can see Class 1B, the support class, and Shinso all by himself, walking in with the support students. As they announce everything that's going to be happening to the tournament, and that midnight, the R-rated hero is announcing what the first one would be. As she calls Bakugo to the stage, as he got the highest score in the entrance exam, the hero one, as Bakugo just says he's gonna win. Everyone gets mad, but then she announces that they got the first quirkless person to ever enter Hero High School, Izuku Midoriya. She honestly says to not waste time for them to begin. As everyone gets ready and situated to race, Izuku stands in with new shoes, some black ones. As when everyone says go, Shoto freezes a lot of people in place. As a lot of people jump over and get over the ice with good quirks, Izuku sing a jump before and slides, as he's using the ice like it's an ice skating ring, and tries to catch up. Ida, realizing what Midoriya is doing, stands still and uses his engines to start boosting across the ice. Shoto keeps on running as the 0-point robots appear. Izuku stops in his tracks while seeing them and waits for other people to get ahead of him. And he only does this for a specific reason. He lets them destroy it so he can rip off parts of the robot. He rips off a ginormous pole from one of them and uses it as a staff to attack the others. As he's running through, he sees the wire walk one. As he's an Mei Hatsume's invention, he realizes he has to go. Deku jumps on the wire and grabs on and throws himself across. He barely makes it and does the same for each one until he gets to the landmines. Because he has a pole in this one, he uses his hands to dig out with the bombs, but because he doesn't have the shield to protect him, he just says, "Oh god, this is gonna hurt," as he jumps and slams the pole down. While Bakugo and Todoroki are busy bickering and fighting while in the field, all you see is a bigger explosion than what happened in the anime, as Deku had more time with the bombs. As Deku is shown flying across them both without the shield, as one of his arms is damaged, as he used that as basically a shield. As he flies over them and starts booking it to the end of the finish line, Bakugo gets pissed and uses his explosion to boost forward. As he gets close to Midoriya jumps and kicks him in the face, doing a spin kick, hitting Bakugo into a bomb, blasting him backwards. Deku starts running. Todoroki uses an ice thing to create a walkway as he starts bolting, yelling at Midoriya that Midoriya won't get first in this one. Izuku is just trying to run and run. And with Todoroki catching up, they both make it through the finish line. And when they replay it, Izuku won by a hair, barely won. Getting the full 1 million points, he's shocked. As he's still holding that pipe, he's honestly happy. He teams up with Ochako, and Mei Hatsume suggested that they should be on the team. Izuku doesn't know if they should, as they need to play keep away. Ida doesn't join them, but with Ochako and Tokoyami, he thinks of something, planning to throw everyone off. He puts Tokoyami on top and carries them, as he tells Hatsume to be on the side with Ochako, and for each of them to wear one hover boot. For Ochako to wear both hover boots, and for Hatsume to wear the jetpack. As Izuku is on the bottom with them and not with Tokoyami, he wants to trick everyone to think he got out. As it begins, they start running around trying to find Midoriya, but they don't see him until they realize it's Tokoyami, who has a million headband, but it's already been half the time and they've been able to play keep away for like a while. As they use the hovering Ochako, they go up, but Bakugo flies up to them to try and hit them, but he misses. He's about to hit the ground. Sero's tape barely grabs him and throws him back next to them. As another 2 minutes go by and leaving 3 minutes on the clock, Todoroki appears, blocking both their pathways to escape. As he tells Midoriya it was smart to put himself on the bottom to trick everyone thinking that he didn't have a team and had to quit. And it didn't trick him, as he instead starts running has his team run to him. He uses Kaminori's an electric thing, but when he does it, Tokoyami's Dark Shadows has to wrap around them and gets electrocuted. After Dark Shadow's done protecting them, they try and get closer. Ida is about to use Reciprocal Burst, but Deku thanks Mei for her other invention, which I don't think she introduced in the... She didn't use this in the main timeline, but she has it in this one, which was just a regular rod that she used to help keep the wire straight when she got across the wire works. He uses it and gets it to Tokoyami, as he's able to block Shoto's hands, smacking it away before he gets it. As they realize they lost their one shot on getting the million headband, they go to try and attack Todoroki. Todoroki's team goes to try and attack Midoriya's, but then time runs out. All the same teams advance, but Shinso's team doesn't, and Class 1B actually gets a chance in the tournament. With Kendo, Tetsu, the Vine Girl, and Mushroom Girl, I'll just pick random ones, as they enter. Yeah, they entered. Having more people means more tournament. As Deku gets his first match up against Kendo, she asks who he is, and he says he's the quirkless kid that got into UA. And she's honestly surprised and says that she's sorry if she badly hurts him, but to tell him they have a good fight. As Deku agrees, as a bird flies through the camera shot, just As the battle begins, they both run at each other. Kendo does an attack to try and hit him, but Izuku dodges and hits her on the stomach. She's surprised that he was able to dodge it, as she hits him with her big fist twice, as realizing how she attacks. When she goes in for an attack and he dodges, she goes to expand it, but he trips himself to fall downwards and does a kick to her face, knocking her backwards. Tetsu's obviously shocked and wondering how he figured out fast, as he then goes into an unorthodox style, bending down on both legs and having one arm out. She goes to an attack and slams down, but he jumps away, slides on the floor, and jumps back, headbutting her in the stomach. It hurts him, but it hurts her. She goes for closer to the end as she tries to hit him, but he's able to grab her arms, and he twists them behind her back, and she taps out. Shocked that she lost, she tells us she had a great match. As we go to Tetsu versus Tetsu to Kirishima, as all the battles happen the same with Sarah and all that. As the battle goes the same, as both of them end up tying, so we go on to Bakugo and Kirishima, or Bakugo and Uraraka. The same thing does kind of happen, but she ended up picking a big slab of rubble, so some of the other rubble that she barely put up, she smacks, and it hits Bakugo on the arm, causing him to bleed a little. But he still beats her at the end. And when we go back to Tetsu and Kirishima, as they do their rematch with the arm wrestling, Kirishima ends up winning, and the same thing happens. Now we go on to a little break, as Recovery Girl needs to heal the people that are going on to the next round. Todoroki brings out Midoriya and tells Izuku that he's not going to hold back, and he's going to end the battle immediately, as he doesn't want to waste time with a quirkless person. Izuku states that that's no way to talk to him, as Shoto says that he doesn't know what he's been through. As Deku says, then what have you been through? As Todoroki explains his whole backstory with his father and all that. And then when we go back, when Midoriya's in the waiting room, as after Bakugo's match, Bakugo was actually going, as they're going from left to right, or left to right, and then right to left, and doing that until they get to the finals. Is when Deku's in the waiting room, Endeavor tells Deku to give up, as he's a quirkless person. What would he do against someone with a powerful quirk like Shoto? Deku looks at him, pissed off, and says to be quiet, as he abused Shoto and his mother, and to not talk to him like he's a lesser person. As Endeavor says, how did you figure that out? As Deku just stays silent and looks at him with a glare. As Endeavor gets mad and ends up breaking part of the door and burning it, he just gives up and says it's not worth his time, and leaves. And when his tech is turned to go into the match, he sees Todoroki, and as soon as she says go, Deku tucks and jumps out of the way, barely missing the ice wall. But the ice wall hit him in the chest, cutting open his shirt and cutting him in the chest, and leaving a big mark where he starts bleeding. So everyone's wondering if Shoto meant that, as he creates another barrier blocking Izuku in, and then he shoots another one, completely covering Midoriya. Everyone believes that this was the end, but then they hear Izuku using one of Shoto's ice that he saw on the ground and punches himself out with a few of his knuckles being bloody. Shoto wonders how he escaped, as he says, "That hurt." And Shoto's like, "You didn't answer my question." Izuku tells Shoto to actually use his fire side, as he doesn't want to fight someone who isn't going to use his 100%. As Shoto says he is going all out. As he says, rejecting his fire side is rejecting part of himself. And if he's not doing that, then he's not himself. As he calls him an idiot for believing that he only needs to win his half of his power. And Shadow gets angered every time Izuku gets closer. He shoots fire for a second. Deku barely dodges it, but part of his leg was hit. As Shoto says, "Fine, I'll end this now." As he stomps down with ice flying all over him, and Deku has to dodge and jump over. As Shoto smiles with his fire side and launches a huge blast. Deku dodges into the ice as he's shown scraping against the concrete floor, almost getting out. But he stands up, bloodied, but standing up nonetheless. He tells Shoto to hit him with the best he's got, as Shoto flies to Midoriya with his ice, and when he goes to hit him, Izuku grabs him and kicks him out of the arena. As Shoto slams out of the arena, and Izuku's the winner. As he goes to walk over to Shoto and tries to give him his arm, but Shoto is shocked that he got played. But Izuku tells him to use his flames and not to let his dad define him. And Shoto thinks about it, but then stands up and walks away. The Endeavor's a little happy that Shoto's using his fire side. Shoto just tells him to just leave him alone, as he's not going to be the person Endeavor wants him to be. Now we do, every battle goes the same and yada yada. We now go to the finals where Izuku and Bakugo are now. Bakugo, he tells Midoriya that the last time they fought with their hero gear, he won, and even without it, he'll win. Deku got healed by a recovery girl and still has that scar. It has now a big scar on his chest. As Izuku says, he's not gonna hold back on Bakugo, and he's gonna end this fight quickly. As when Midnight says go, they both run at each other and Deku lands 2 good punches in Bakugo's gut and then a kick to his head, slamming Bakugo into the floor. But Bakugo gets up and starts repeatedly hitting him with explosions. As Sun Wukong's watching this on TV, he's getting a little scared for Midoriya's safety. Mitsuki and her husband, aka Bakugo's parents, are honestly a little worried that Bakugo's going overboard on Midoriya, repeatedly hitting him with the explosions, as he throws him against the wall, hurting him. Or not against the wall, against the floor, hurting him. He goes to kick Midoriya out the ring, but when he does, he misses, and Deku gets up and headbutts him. Bakugo ends up hitting him with another explosion and grabs him by the collar of his... As he says, if Deku ever believed he could beat him. But then all you see is Deku bites Bakugo on the hand. Bakugo lets go and yells as he tries to go for more explosions. And he misses a lot of them, but then he lands 2 good ones on Izuku's chest, blowing off his shirt again and making him bleed where his scar was and making it a little bigger. Izuku yells in pain as Bakugo says he'll end this and is about to use his howitzer impact, as Midnight and Cementos realizing that Deku is too damaged. So they set up a wall, but Bakugo, as one of Cementos' blocks hits Midoriya, as Midoriya is launched out also by the explosion, as he hits the wall, bleeding. As Bakugo is claiming the winner, Deku is rushed to Recovery Girl, as part of his ribs were shattered and one of his arms are completely broken. She's trying to heal him, but then she sees his body slowly healing itself. His bones are slowly reattaching themselves with ligaments. As she heals him, his body heals quickly. Yep, Deku drank the wine. He took a sip before he spit it out, but he still drank it, giving him immortality for a full month. And because it didn't kill him, or badly damage him, Deku gets up, seeing Bakugo being crowned, but he missed the ceremony. So he has the second thing second place thing right next to him. And if you're wondering, this is the end of the first part. And if you're wondering who got one for all, it's Muriel. We'll get to that soon. See you later.